Good. So before we break for intermission, as it is our tradition in Céleste Music, we like to have a little bit of a Q&A session with the artist. So this is your occasion to ask questions. And my name is Luke. I'm one of the board members of Céleste Music, and I'll just maybe get the ball rolling with one or two. But while we're chatting about one or two things, you might want to think about additional questions you might want to ask Patricia. So to begin, as Andrea mentioned at the beginning, you are the artist in residence at the Cornell Collection and also a postdoctoral researcher there. So I thought to open, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about that collection and what you do there. Maybe you could tell us, for example, what is in that collection and what are your aims?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if I can talk back. So at Cornell, we have a beautiful collection of many historical pianos and other instruments as well. So we have a couple of harpsichords, but only replicas, and two clavichords as well, and very, very good organs. The part I curate is the one that involves the pianos. So we have pianos originals from the earlier one. The earliest is 1799, and it's a Broadwood, an English piano, like Fitzwilliam. And we don't have names. We should have names. And I'll think about it.
We'll be happy to make suggestions. We can get in on that.
So then we have other, we also have replicas from the 18th century, which are very useful for practicing, for bringing them around, because obviously originals are very delicate. We want to preserve them for as long as we can, but of course it's really nice to play them as well. With the replicas, what we do is we preserve a little bit more the originals, and we have replicas of a Walter type, a Stein type, and what is the other? Schanz. So 3 Viennese makers. I mentioned them before when I was comparing them to Graf. We also have an original Graf, which we are very lucky to have. And ours is a little bit earlier than this one. It's been dated 1823. We also have romantic pianos, so pianos from the 19th century, Pleyel, Erard, Blüthner, and a couple others I'm not remembering. But what I do there is basically I try to connect these instruments to broader topics and make collaborations, not only within the music department, but also beyond. So I've done projects with astronomy, and I've done projects with a lot of visual arts, of course. We have a collaboration with a museum, which is wonderful because it brings a lot of inspiration to create programs and to enrich from each other when we collaborate with curators from the museum or scientists, or we've done collaborations with literature, with many different things. And it's always very, very inspiring to create this connection, this community around the keyboards, which at first might seem like a little bit of an isolated thing. Instead, they are a very important part of a society, culture of many, not many, because the piano was invented only in 1700s, but the past 3 centuries. So they are a fundamental, it's a center. Obviously for me, I'm biased, but it's very interesting for me as well to connect them to broader issues and the broader cultural and social and economical sometimes aspects of these past 3 centuries. So yes, I don't know if I'm replying.
Yes, actually on that last point, that's something that is of interest to us too, because I think, the center of piano culture, certainly in the period that you're talking about prior to the modern piano, was so social, and sociable compared to maybe the modern concert halls. So again, our collection centers around instruments that were not designed for modern concert halls, and what the advantage of that is then this intimate space where we can know our audience a bit more, and everything is on a bit more of an intimate scale. And it allows for more sort of individuality in terms of the sound qualities of the instruments, and that's what we really love. So it's nice to see that we sort of are on the same page when it comes to that. So maybe one last question from me then before we open it up to the audience, but coming back to the Graf then that you have in your collection. So you mentioned it slightly earlier, you said it was, you think, from 1822, ours is from 1835, but it is of course the same builder, but there was some evolution and some variation in his output. So in what ways would you say your Graf is different from our Graf? And maybe did that have any influence on your repertoire choice or any of the sort of interpretive choices you made in terms of how you performed the program that you put together?
Yeah, these are very good questions. So, for the first part of the question, in which ways it is different? As I mentioned before, Graf was very consistent, one of the most consistent piano builders at the time, which is something rare because what we see with other builders from 1800s is that they are really experimenting and changing a lot from one instrument to another, even with a separation of a couple of years, really, like maybe even 1 year can make a difference in the instrument making. But Graf found a perfect mechanism, and so he kind of like reproduced it because it worked. And there are, yes, small differences in the mechanics, not so much the mechanics, sorry, but in the measurements of the mechanics. That's what I wanted to say. So, for instance, the separation between the strings it's a little shorter in the earlier type. So Graf has like 2 different periods. The soundboard is open in the earlier pianos. And there are a couple more things, but really nothing major. The dimensions are pretty much the same. The materials vary slightly from one instrument to another, but it doesn't depend on the period. But nevertheless, for some reason, each instrument of Graf is very different and has a unique voice. And it's almost like magical, because if you think about it, like how an instrument with the same proportions that another can sound so different. And I suppose that it involves the fact that it's humanly made. So even though I spoke about a factory, but it's a factory that is 40 people, and it's 40 people with their hands making it individually. So obviously there is something that it's very special about that, and I suppose that is part of this uniqueness of the pianos, as well as the fact that each of them has a history. So they've been changing owner. They have their own stories. They were in different places. Imagine an instrument like this, which crossed the Atlantic, like the one we have as well, because all the way from Vienna, this one I believe it was in Hungary, and then it went to the Netherlands, and then it came to the US. So I suppose also in this process of changing caretaker, something it perhaps absorbs, or I'd like to think that it absorbs something from that human connection. And as well, of course, as the performer, because this instrument will sound different if Andrea plays it or another performer plays it. And that leads me to replying to the second part of the question, because I tend to make repertoire choices according to the instruments, but also not. Let me explain. So what I like the most is actually performing one piece on different pianos, because you never can have just one idea of this piece. If you're going to perform on historical keyboards, you really need to be very open-minded and flexible to react to the instrument as much as the instrument reacts to you. So there is a dialogue with the instrument. And it's something very beautiful that the same piece can sound completely different and feel for the performer completely different by changing instruments. So many times it's almost like the opposite. I like to experiment with one work or several on different pianos, because that gives me, I find it very enriching for my musical imagination. So, yeah.
Okay, so one quick follow-up, and then I promise I will open it to the floor. But just on that note, we had the restorer, Edwin Bunk, here, who was talking about some of the non-standard features. So I did notice that you were using some of the pedals there, and that is often what's non-standard. So this one, the audience might have noticed, has 4 pedals, which is a bit different from a modern piano. So it has the standard sustain pedal, it has the standard una corda or quiet pedal, but then in the middle it has a moderator and a double moderator. I'm wondering if the one at Cornell has the same pedals or if it has something different.
So the one we have has 5 But it doesn't have the one more. But it doesn't have the double moderator. It has just the regular moderator, which makes it almost muted as a sound. I used it before. I used all of them. And then it has bassoon, which makes this metallic effect that reminds of the sound of a bassoon.
The buzzing sound.
The buzzing sound, yes. And it's basically an extra mechanism that sits only on this bass part of a piano. And when you action it, then it lowers, so it almost touches the strings. And then when the hammer hits the strings from below, it creates that vibration with that kind of, I think it's parchment paper.
Yeah.
And then the other one that has is called Janissary, and it comes from the Turkish music. It was something that in Vienna, because they were obviously, there was this war, and they had a lot of influence. This has been also criticized as cultural appropriation, but I believe there was an exchange of music, and I don't know, I don't want to judge it, but in any case, the pedal is a lot of fun because it's a percussion mechanism, and it also has a bell. So basically, if you're careful enough, in fact, you can use separately the bell and the percussion. So if you just press very lightly the pedal, then you hear this shh from the bells. Or if you press it a little more, then you hear ping, the bell. Or if you press it like with all your strength, then you hear the mallet. So it's very, very a lot of fun. And this is part of all these pianos, that they were experimenting with sound. It was never about the loudness of a sound, but the quality of the sound that they were interested in. And this is the fun of it, because you can create all these effects that are really, really make the music very much alive.
Yeah, and again, this was often in people's homes. They probably would do some dancing. There was a lot of sort of dance music, yes, popular music, just entertainment. Maybe you had children, you needed to give them a role in the whole process. So, yes, getting them to hit the Janissary stop and go boom, jingle, might be a fun way to get them involved before they learn to play their own piece.
Exactly.
So on that, maybe we can open things up to the audience. Do you have anything you'd like to ask our performer? Yes, go ahead.
I'm interested in you, and this is lovely, but I'd like to know how you got started in music and what took you to the historical music side.
Yeah, so everything, to both questions, everything is pretty much by chance. So the first part of it is I was taken to a classical music concert and I loved it. And then there was this academy that opened in my neighborhood, and my parents took me there. Actually, my sister took me there. And I started taking lessons, just like a trial lesson, and I liked it, and I kept going. And then the second question, I was doing my master's in modern piano performance in the UK. And there was this seminar where you could just sign up for free, and they would teach you fortepiano, which I had no clue what it was. So out of curiosity, I decided to attend. And again, I fell in love right away. So many times this, you open these possibilities like Céleste is doing, and then some people are gonna just be fascinated about it and continue, and that will become their passion, like it happened to me. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're beautiful. You play beautifully.
Thank you.
Maybe one more before we take our intermission. Yes, go ahead.
So congratulations, music. Congratulations to your staff and to the staff of the Old Town Hall. What a beautiful space this is to hear. And congratulations to you for a lovely first half. Because you have an older life on modern piano, so two parts, do you still play modern piano? And Newmarket, what pieces do you enjoy taking to the fortepiano? Or do you feel are more, you feel they're better shown or better revealed on the fortepiano than on modern piano?
So yeah, I do still play modern piano. As you know, can I confess? So we know each other from Cornell. And on the fortepiano, I think like all 18th century repertoire especially speaks well on early instruments because it just makes it much more alive and crispy, and it has like a totally different vitality when you play it on these really quick and precise instruments, and then you can focus more on the qualities of the sound rather than having this big legato line that the modern piano makes. And I'm not saying it's not possible to play on the modern piano. I think it is, and I definitely, I don't want to say better or worse, but I play differently on the modern piano if I have to play that repertoire than when I didn't play on historical keyboards, like something changed. And there's no return, like you cannot go back. I don't know for the better or for the worse. But I believe that is the repertoire that really gains a lot of liveliness when you play on historical keyboards. But I have to say, and you know this as well, I've also been enjoying experimenting with contemporary music written for historical instruments because I believe they are instruments. So sonic tools, sonic possibilities to explore what it's possible with music, and the style doesn't have to necessarily be attached to the sound. So I've been finding them very interesting, and I think some composers have as well, find these instruments very interesting and offering different possibilities than modern ones. So I think that the repertoire can be very fluid and on these pianos, and it's just about what I mentioned before, really making the dialogue happen and taking the best out of you and the combination of you and the piano.
Wonderful. So I think we'll break for intermission for about 15 minutes, and then we're really looking forward to hearing the second half and these less well-known composers for the second half. I was going to ask about them, but she's going to tell us a few words at the beginning of when we resume. So we'll see you in 15 minutes, and in the intervening time, please feel free to explore the other instruments around the room if you'd like. We'll see you soon.